All right, welcome back to season 7 of our show, and today it's beef and lamb. We're combining the two, showing you two spectacular dishes. Let's show you how to get it done. So today we're combining lamb and beef. I got 7 pounds worth of flank steak, 7 pounds worth of deboned lamb. That's right, deboned lamb leg of lamb. So we're gonna just get this out of its net. Now this comes wrapped in a net, and they usually wrap them in a net so they can hold their shape. Well, we won't be using this because we're gonna grind this up. That's right. So the first thing we're gonna do is get the net off. Let's get it onto our bench. Now this is where they deboned it. You can see inside. They took the bone right out of here, just cut around the bone and pulled it out. Now you can do a couple of things with this. You can cook it whole. You can wrap it with bacon. There's a lot of things you can do with this. But today we're combining the lamb and the beef, making some gorgeous burgers, and we're also making a gorgeous Salisbury steak recipe. That's right. This is gonna be some of the best cuts of meat to do this with, especially Salisbury steak. So the first thing you wanna do is cut these up into individual steaks, just like I'm doing. Just get them down small. And now you want these small enough to get into your grinder. So just like this, I'm gonna hold it from the side and I'm gonna cut these small enough to fit down into our grinder. So just like that, they'll go down in there. I'm gonna make sure that's thin enough to fit down in the grinder. Now this has got some fat on here. We want that fat. We don't want to take that fat off of here. So pieces like that, you want to keep. But the scraggly on the end here, it's very fatty and kind of slimy. Get that fat off of there. So I'm gonna throw this in the basket and just slice it down real thin. So this is how I'm gonna handle the first step of this. So now that you know how to do that, let's push these meats off to the side and let's show you how to do our flank. So our flank steak, we're gonna cut into strips. Now, it doesn't matter where the grain runs as long as you just cut it the long way to fit down into your grinder, so we're gonna cut it this way. Now all these meats are in the fridge. Make sure they're cold, because when you're grinding this up, you want them to be cold. They'll give a better grind. So once you cut them up, you can stick these back in the refrigerator and then stick them in the grinder, or you can stick them in the freezer for a little bit and they'll give you a better grind. So just like that, see how long those strips are? So I'm gonna get all this cut up and then we're gonna meet you back here with the grinder and show you how to season this up. This is where we can take the next step. So stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, our meat's cut up. Let's get it grinded up. Take a look in here. See how we ground these up? Now I put these in the refrigerator and got them real cold. Time to grind. Now you see how I cut the strips long and see how it's just taking it right down in there? I mean, you don't have to stomp this at all. When I say stomp it, I mean you don't have to push this at all behind. It just goes straight through. So we're gonna get this ground up and we'll meet you right back here when we do. Stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, we are done with our grind. Let's show you what we got. Look at that delicious meat. So now that it's come out of the grinder, it's got a bit warmer. So what you want to do is take this and put it inside the refrigerator and just chill it back down again. You want this nice and cold. So it's 2 chills, one before you grind it and one after. And we get it chilled down, we'll meet you right back here. Stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, our meat's cooled down and separated. Let's show you what to do from here. So we separated these into 2 batches. Now the first batch here is for just burgers. So we're gonna show you some of those. And the second batch is our Salisbury steak. You're gonna need some Lea & Perrins Worcestershire sauce, salt, pepper. Right here we got parsley, garlic, yellow onion, and some bread. First thing you wanna do is make the stuffing for the Salisbury steak. So this is still bread. It's a couple days old, and it's starting just to get on that side where you don't want it anymore. So I'm just gonna rip it up, put it inside the food processor. This is a great way of using up your bread. I don't throw away anything in my house. It's waste not, want not. These are the ends of the bread too, if you noticed. The heels. All right, so we got it like that. We're gonna take some parsley. I'm just gonna chop it, rough chop. Just gonna stick it in there. Garlic. I'm using a lot of the garlic. I got some scallion here. I'm using most of the white part. Maybe a little bit more. And I might even hit this again if it's not enough. Let's lock on. I'm gonna take a look and see where I'm at. And there you have it. All right, so this is what it should look like. Nice and light and airy. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna dump it right into our Salisbury steak mixture. Just like that. Now I feel we have enough. I'm kind of happy with that. I'm gonna look around and I'm happy with that. All right, so let's get this off to the side. I'm gonna move this over. Let's go with a little black pepper. Touch of salt. Now you're gonna salt afterwards too, but just for now, for the inside of the meat, you want to salt. You can also salt again for the outside. And now we're just gonna get this mixed up. We're using some Worcestershire sauce, and we're just gonna start to add some. Out of all the Worcestershire sauces, I like the Lea & Perrins. It really gives a lot of flavor, and it's just old school. And that's just the way it is. I'm gonna say it the way it is. All right, and there you go. So now we have that mixed up. Now it's not too wet, so you don't want to wet it up. I could smell the Lea & Perrins coming out of there, and I know I got a good mix in here. So let's bring in a tray. And let's start to ball these guys up. So I'm just gonna make them just like I would do hamburgers. Pick up whatever's left over on the tray. So if you form them into patties, just like burgers, because that's basically what they are. I like mine thick, and I'm just gonna mash it down just a little bit. So just the way it forms into a nice patty, just like that. Not too big, not too small. And there it is. All right, I'm gonna get this process done. I'm also gonna make some hamburgers in the process too. I'm not putting anything in the hamburgers but salt and pepper on the outside. And we're gonna show you how to fry those up because you want to taste the natural taste of that meat because the combination is outstanding. All right, we'll meet you right back here. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, we're ready to cook. Let's show you what we got. Take a look at that yield. That's what those 2 cuts of meat produced. Now I wanted hamburgers and I wanted Salisbury steak, but I wanted the best Salisbury steak and I wanted amazing hamburgers. If you're in the mood for 2 different cuts of meat, combine them. Come up with one, you got 2 dishes just like we did today. These are going in the fridge, we're gonna chill them down. I like to let those rest. These are getting cooked right now. We're gonna need some avocado oil on here. So I'm just gonna sprinkle a little avocado oil, mostly on the tray. And then we're gonna salt them. And pepper them. So you're gonna need a good amount. Now there's no spices inside these burgers because I wanna really taste this meat. And I'm frying these guys in tallow, beef tallow. That's what we're doing. So here's our pepper. Be liberal with it. Salt and pepper. That's all you need on a burger like this. And fry it in some beef tallow. This thing's gonna be outstanding. A little bit more salt, because the salt really makes all the difference in the world with these nice thick burgers. And then roll them around the tray. I'm gonna flip this side over. Let's just hit this with some salt. I'm gonna skip the pepper because it's on the tray. And just like that, you're done. So let's get these reformed and just rolled around the tray. Maybe a little bit more avocado oil. Be liberal with it, just like that. And There you have it. All right, we're gonna pull out some oil, get the frying pan set, and then we're gonna meet you onto the stove to fry these up, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, our oil's heating up. That's beef tallow, and just when you see a little bit of smoke coming from it, and with the burger you go. I'm frying in a pot. They offer you a lot of control. All right, let's get the pork butt in. That's it, let them go. Don't touch them. We're gonna give them about 3 minutes on each side until they release, and then we're gonna flip them. If they don't look good on that side, we'll flip them over again. You can flip them as much as you want. So stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, let's get them over. Look at that. That one still needs some time. We'll meet you back here. Don't go anywhere. All right, so I put the lid on these halfway through. I'm gonna leave it cracked to let a lot of steam out of here because you don't wanna keep the steam in because you'll drip water into the oil and you'll get a splash. So let's take a look at these. See that? When you put the water towards the grease, you'll hear that splash there. Hear that? Oil got crazy, so don't do that. All right, off to the side they go. Just like that. And we're looking for medium rare to well done. It's lamb, so I like to go a little bit more well done. We'll meet you onto the chopping block. Stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, our burgers are out of the fryer. Let's take a look at what we got. Now those are looking right. They rested for a while. Look at that crust on them. And that crust is just so beautiful. All right, let's get one on a bun here. I'm gonna take a bun and we're gonna get this guy right on it. Now these are served very simple. A little bit of ketchup on the top of the bun, and that is it. Because you want to taste that burger. And I call this burger the blam burger. So I'm gonna put a little onion on there, bark the lid on it. Now we're gonna cut into this just to show you what we got. Because you guys gotta see the inside of this. Whoop, we lost a little there, but that's the Pitmaster's taste right there. But look at that. Let's get into it. That burger tastes like no other. That flank steak shines right through. It brings in the richness and the fattiness, and it offsets that lamb. And when you fry it with a bunch of high heat like that, you're really gonna dry out that lamb, but the flank keeps the lamb perfect. And the flavor of the lamb complements that flank. It is an outstanding burger. And one of the best burgers I've probably ever had in my life is this combination right here, and I hope you guys try it. All right, we're gonna get organized and put the rest of this meal together, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, it is time to complete our Salisbury steak. Take a look at what we have on this table. So we have our Salisbury steaks all pattied out, ready to roll. We're making a gravy, and we're gonna get back to this in a second. We got some mushrooms, yellow onion, and fennel. We got salt, pepper, garlic, and of course we got some potatoes in the back and some marsala. That's marsala wine, not to be confused with marsala cooking wine. I don't cook with cooking wine. I cook with regular wine. All right, gravy, 2 cups of flour. Got some olive oil here. This is the easy way how to do this. And you'll never mess up gravy again. This is a trick I learned 32 years ago. So we're just gonna mix this into the flour. Now, This is called an instant gravy, and you can leave this in your fridge for up to a week. Sometimes even longer, depending on how you store it. And anytime you want to pull it out, as you'll see how this is made, it's an easy go-to. You know, speaking of Salisbury steak, a lot of people wonder where that recipe came from. And that recipe came from a doctor back in the 1800s that felt that the Americans weren't eating enough meat or didn't have enough meat in their diet. So he came up with a Salisbury steak recipe to help our soldiers out as well too during the Civil War. The recipe's been around ever since. So it is not a foreign recipe, it's a recipe of the States. So just keep mixing that in. We're gonna a little bit more olive oil in here. No salt, no pepper. Just like that. Now we're gonna show you everything in stages so you're not confused. And we're gonna go onto the stove in just a second here, right after we get this done. And then we're gonna cook down those Salisburys. I'll show you how to do those first, and then we're gonna make our gravy and add everything to it. So we'll meet you right over to the stove. All right, I'm using beef tallow, and I got the first batch in just like I did the hamburgers, same exact way. Get them in the oil. We're gonna fry these down. Now we're not gonna fry them all the way. We're gonna leave them real rare in the middle. And I'm gonna get these out of here and get the other batch in. We're gonna finish cooking these in the gravy. We'll meet you back here after we finish doing that. Stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, I'm gonna pull these at this point. I don't want these to get too dark because we're gonna finish them in the sauce and the gravy, that is. So just get them out. But look at all that flavor. Then I'm gonna get my other batch in. Let's get our other batch in. And I'm gonna keep this real tight. It's gonna be a real tight formation in here. I'm gonna try to get all these guys in. There it is. Doesn't get any better than that. Meet you right back here. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. I want you to take a look in here and see how easy these are frying. You see that? There's no grease popping everywhere. It's a nice, easy fry. And this stove is on hot. It's wide open. So this is why I fry in a pot, because you have a lot of control. I'm gonna flip this over so you can see this. Look at that. This is the way you want these. See that? I have a lot of control in this pot. That was over a little early, but I can bring it back over. But you see that? This is why you want to fry with something like beef tallow. It has a really high smoke point, and it just keeps everything juicy as you're frying it. You're frying it in fat. Seed oils, I never fry in, ever. So canola oils, corn oil, vegetable oil, I don't ever fry in there. Always fry in fat. It's the way to go, and it's much healthier for you. All right, we're gonna meet you right back here after we pull this and get our veggies in. Stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, we took all of our Salisbury steaks out. This is the grease in the back that I emptied out. So I just took some grease out of this pan, because you don't need all this oil in here, and I left all of that nice fond in the bottom of here. That's spelled F-O-N-D, fond. Onions and fennel. We're just gonna get this stirred around. Now what you want to do is you want to cook this down, especially the fennel and the garlic. So just cook it down, and I'm going to deglaze this pan with just a little white wine. Just a touch, not much at all, just to get all of those nice bits off the bottom of there. And then we're going to meet you right back here when we're doing that. Stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, our onion and our fennel is cooking down nicely. We're going to deglaze with a little white wine. And always pour it from the side. Don't pour it directly in the middle, especially if you have oil in the pan. And that's that. Now it's going to cool down the pan. And then we're going to get all that off the bottom. So this will pick up the flavor, and it's going to clean your pan at the same exact time. So this is why you want to do it like that. See that? And while we're cooking this down and getting everything off the bottom, and with our mushrooms we go. It's going to be a mushroom gravy, and then we're going to hit these with just a little touch of salt and get these cooked down. And look at that come together. Now the mushrooms are going to release their water. We're going to put some beef stock in here and make our gravy and put our Salisbury back in. And when that happens, we're going to meet you right back here, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, mushrooms are cooking down lovely, and everything is off the bottom of this pot. Everything's off the sides and the bottom. So we got up all that flavor. Look how rich that is. It's going to be a very rich stock. Let's add some flavor to it. We're using Marsala wine. This is how much I'm putting in. That's right. You need a good amount in there. I'm going to stir this in. And it smells excellent already. Now this is going to cook off and evaporate off, and we'll be left with is a bunch of flavor. But if you got a nice smell in here and you dump that in and it smells fantastic, then you know you got the right amounts. So don't skimp on the wine. Again, that's not cooking wine, that's real wine, Marsala wine. Sweet or dry, it's up to you. Beef stock. This is a homemade beef stock. I'm going to take it about up to there. Ratio your amounts out. Use your judgment, ratio the amounts out. Make it yours. Now when we make a gravy out of here and put that meat back in, everything is going to rise to the top. So if I fill this thing up full of gravy, it's going to overflow. We don't want to do that. When it's time to make the gravy, we'll meet you again back here. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. Alright, so this has been going now for about 15 minutes, and it's time to make our gravy. At this point, you want to make all your last final touches. Whatever you want to put in here, taste it and see what you want to put in here. Because the broth is going to determine what your gravy is going to taste like. So at this point, I'm good to go. I'm going to add black pepper. It's a good gauge. Now, I've already know my ratio, so I know what I'm looking for by making this 1,000 times. I'm going to leave it about there. Because the peppercorns are very big, they're going to get more flavor, so just watch your amounts. You don't want the peppercorn, you don't have to put them in. Make this recipe yours. You know, this is why we do the ingredients this way, so you get a guide, you watch, and you make it yours. Very simple. Alright, so here's that mixture we made. And we're going to go on with some of that. So I'm just going to mix some of this up, and I'm going to start to drop it. And then I'm going to stir with a whisk. Now this is on medium heat while I'm doing this. And it's important that you stir it, because if you don't stir it, you're going to make dumplings. And you don't want to do that. It wouldn't work out too good for you, right? So I'm just going to keep stirring. And then I'm going to add my gravy mixture, the flour, and that was the flour and the oil, as I need it. So medium heat. And just when you get to the consistency that you think you want, stop. because you're going to give time to evaporate. That meat's got to finish cooking off in there, right? We're going to put that back in there, and it's going to evaporate off some more. And this sauce is going to get thicker. This gravy is going to get thicker anyway. And that will be that. So we're going to keep dropping this in slowly. And stir it for a good 3 minutes before you drop each batch. And that's that. We'll meet you back here when we're putting that steak in. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. Alright, so our gravy has reached that desired consistency. Look at that. See, that's what I'm looking for. Just like that. And now, we're going to get in our Salisbury steak. I'm just going to take these guys and drop them in. And get them covered. So just like that. And that's it. So we're going to get all these guys in the pot. And they'll all fit too. Any of you have to stack a couple on top of each other, it won't matter. As long as the gravy covers them, you're good to go. See that? Just like that. So we'll meet you back here. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. Alright, we got that Salisbury steak getting nice and soft and tender in that gravy. What goes better with Salisbury steak other than mashed potatoes and string beans on the side? Let's get it done. So I'm throwing down with 15 potatoes inside this pressure cooker. I'm going to mash these up right afterwards. I peeled them, washed them, and this is what we got. Alright, I'm going to lock this lid on, and I'm going to give them 20 minutes on the clock. And there we are. I got some fresh string beans here. I cut the ends off of them. They're nice and cleaned up. There's no strings on those. We got garlic. We got a little red crushed pepper. We have ham. We have two types of onions here. We got a white onion and we got a purple onion. We got an orange. This is a leftover beef tallow that came out of that pot. So we emptied some of that grease off the pot. We're going to use this to cook these string beans up. Onto the stove we go. Alright, so we have our garlic, our ham, and our onions cooking down. So that's just how you want to cook it down, just like that. And what you want to do is you want to bring all that moisture out of the ham, and you want to get the onions and the garlic soft at the same time. You don't have to worry about the garlic burning or anything, because you got everything here keeping it nice and moist. Take a look at that Salisbury. Isn't that looking right? Just in there getting nice and soft. We're going to get this cooked down, and then we're going to meet you back here when it's time to put our string beans in, so don't go anywhere. Alright, our onions and our ham is coming along good. Let's give it a little flip. And then we're going to go in with our string beans. So you want the string beans to get soft inside that nice ham. And the onions are going to bring that flavor in there. And everything is just going to release. And we're going to give this a couple of more flips after this gets a little softer. But we don't want to cook these down to mush, you know. A little red pepper flake. Roll it. Here's our orange. This is going to keep this nice and moist. This is a seedless orange. We're going to squeeze our orange in. Just like that. And then we got pieces of orange here too. So we'll get that orange in. And then we're going to throw the rest of our orange in. And we're just going to let this cook down. It's going to bring such a bright tasting flavor in here. Alright, so let's give that a little flip. There it is. Alright, so I'm going to drop this down on low. And I'm going to put the lid on. 15 minutes. We'll meet you back here. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, our string beans are done. Let's take a look. Look at that. Doesn't those look beautiful? And there's still a lot of life left in there. That's why you want to cook everything down first. Throw the string beans in, hit them with the orange, and then 10 minutes covered. That's it. We'll meet you on the chopping block and put this all together. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, we got that Salisbury steak done. We got those string beans out of the way. Last stop on this train, the mashed potatoes. Let's get them mashed. All right, so here's our potatoes out of the pressure cooker. So what I'm gonna do is just salt them first. Now the butter I'm using is salted, so watch your salt levels. I like salty potatoes, so I'm going in on it just a little bit more. And I'm using Kerrygold butter. That's right, a couple of sticks of that nice rich Irish butter. And now we're just gonna mash them up. Easy old school way. Just get them nice and mashed. At this point, you could dump some milk in them and hit them with a mixer, and you can get nice fluffy potatoes out of here, but I'm just gonna get them mashed up. I'm not gonna go too crazy on them, but we're just gonna get them mashed a little bit and leave a couple of lumps in there as well too. So I think I'm gonna go about there. Let's take a look at what I got. And I think I'm looking right. I know I don't need any more salt. And I'm good to go. I'm just gonna let that butter melt in there on its own. This way it melts at the table as well too. And we're just gonna get these in a bowl. And then we're gonna meet you guys right back here to plate up, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, and here we are on the chopping block of season 7. Salisbury steak with mashed potatoes and beautiful string beans with bacon and orange. Let's show you what we got. Take a look at those string beans. And they're looking fantastic. Cooked in that tallow, that bacon, a little orange. It's a beautiful dish. And that Salisbury steak. Look at that, we slow cooked this down. We let this go for about an hour and a half, so they're ready to roll. And those mashed potatoes, you saw those. Time to plate up. I'm just gonna put some right on one side, just so we have plenty of room for gravy. I left these nice and chunky. That's how I like them. Buttery and chunky. Get a little bit more on there. There we go. What I'm gonna do is put a little indent right in these potatoes. And I'm gonna get some Salisbury steak right in the middle of that. Just like that. Followed by some gravy. Cannot go wrong with too much gravy. I think you guys know that. Get a little bit more. We'll hold it there. We're gonna clean this plate up as usual. And we left some room for those beautiful string beans right on that plate. Is a one-stop shopper. So there we go. Some ham. And this is the way it was served back in the days. Everything on one gorgeous plate. And we topped it off with a gorgeous roll on the side. There it is. Let's spin this around so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Let's try that Salisbury steak and those potatoes. Look at that, so tender. This is so delicious. The meat is phenomenal. That gravy with the fennel and the mushrooms and that marsala, that speaks volumes. It's powerful. Right over top of those potatoes with the curry gold butter, outstanding. This is a dish you have to watch you don't overeat. The meat is so succulent and tender. Those two different meats mixed together, they're outrageous together. Definitely have to try that recipe. All right, let's try those string beans. This is another outrageous dish. That ham cooked in the tallow is wonderful. We caramelized it in the pan along with those onions. That orange in there just gives that touch of acidity. It's perfect for this. The string beans are perfectly cooked. They're not too hard. They're not too soft. Outrageous meal. All right, we're gonna get organized. Meet you guys right back here, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. All right, and there it is. One spectacular Salisbury steak dinner. With some gorgeous string beans on the side. We parked that Salisbury right over some gorgeous potatoes with Kerrygold butter for all the difference in the world. And that gravy made to perfection. And of course, we always have to park it over some mashed potatoes. A couple of biscuits on the side to round it off. Two different meats. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. And with no further ado, gotta get that last Pitmaster bite there.